the official podcast of FCS Fans Nation, with your hosts Kylor Neal, Matthew Frazee, and Lawrence Smith.
FCS Fans Nation. If you are a fan of NFL mock drafts, hypotheticals, things that might happen but probably won't, you are going to love this podcast. Welcome to a special edition of FCS Fans Nation. Our format is a little different tonight because we are going to be doing the Selection Sunday 1 week prior mock special. Ladies and gentlemen, just like the committee will do on Sunday, tonight we are going to be selecting what we believe will be the 16 teams for the FCS Spring Playoffs. Unbiased Bison Am and Matt Frazee coming at you here, along with a ton of guests tonight. We have Jamie Williams from JMU, of course, joining us. Don't even need to ask how he's doing. We're best buds at this point as we're holding this pod down. We are so thankful, though, to have Kylor back on the podcast. And of course, we have a super special guest tonight, guys. King FCS Bracketologist Jason Groomes is joining us in the background, and he's going to be assisting us tonight as we predict the entire FCS playoff field for the spring playoffs. And actually, you know, now that I think about it, we are missing one individual from our stream. I believe we're missing Mr. Chris Hammond, who is also joining us right now. And holy moly, after taking a loss this weekend, he looks like he's having a win tonight. Tubbs at the club. Chris, welcome to the show, my man.
It's playoff time. Let's go, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready to rumble? Jamie, Kylor, how you doing tonight, gentlemen?
All good.
Yeah, man, doing fine.
Good. All right, guys, I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast who's listened to us in the past is a little confused on why we're jacked up, why this sounds different. But just to kind of give it a rundown, we may answer a few of our members' questions at the end of the podcast tonight, but we thought we'd do something a little different, a first-time thing here for FCS Fans Nation. We are going to do a mock playoff field, and we are going to do that, guys, by predicting this weekend's big games, which will set up the auto bids. And we are going to have our 10 auto bids set, and then we're going to roll right into selecting who we believe would be the at-larges for this FCS spring playoff season. So by the end of this entire thing, we will have built a 16-team playoff. We will have 4 seeds, and our bracketologist expert, the king of FCS Bracketology, Jason Groomes, is going to break down where people would go on his map. So this is going to be a lot of fun, guys. We're going to roll right into it. Just a few ground rules. While we are going to debate quite a bit, I'm sure there's going to be some differentiating opinions as we go through this. The one thing is I have pre-selected in areas, one of you each who can just make the final call. So I'll let everybody know as we go through the predictions, the seeds, stuff like that, who gets the final call and determination. All right. Are you boys ready to go? Jamie, you ready to hit this, my man?
Let's roll.
Heck yeah, guys. All right, let's roll right into it with just a quick recap of what we know already about the FCS Spring Playoffs. And that is currently we have 5 clinched auto qualifiers. If you guys didn't know, the Big Sky, the Big South, the NEC, OVC, and Southland all have set auto bids based off of last weekend's results. Weber State is in by defeating Idaho State and currently be undefeated in the Big Sky as an auto bid. The Big South, Monmouth, crushing Kennesaw State, taking the Owls' hopes away, and they are in as the Big South representative. Sacred Heart in an overtime thriller beating Duquesne in the NEC. Jacksonville State, stay cocky, baby, taking down Murray State for the OVC title. And Southland, Sam Houston defeated McNeese, and the Incarnate Word lost, so Sam Houston is in. So we have 5 of those teams in, guys, but now it is time to figure out and predict the remaining auto bids. So we need to figure out the CAA, Missouri Valley, Patriot League, Pioneer, and SoCon. And let's start with the CAA for the auto bid. But we kind of need to figure some things out first before we can just say, hey, I think this team's going to be the auto bid. And Jamie, we're going to turn to you a little bit, my man. Jamie, why don't you talk a little bit about the CAA's current situation and how we could find ourselves into an auto bid and how it's going to be determined at that league level?
All right. CAA, is near and dear to my heart. Living in CAA country, went to a CAA school. So where are we? We have 4 teams still alive. Delaware, Richmond, and James Madison are all unbeaten. Villanova comes in at 2-1. Now those 4 teams actually match up this weekend. Villanova plays Delaware, and you would think with how Delaware's looked that they're just going to cruise. Look back at the history of that rivalry, the battle for the blue. Villanova has dominated. So pick that coming for that just a bit. As of this time last week, we did not have a matchup between James Madison and Richmond because Richmond was trying to chicken out. Well, karma caught them. William & Mary had COVID issues, canceled their game. Richmond needed one more game. So who was ready and waiting? The Dukes of Harrisonburg.
Yeah,
now
maybe.
They've got the game they didn't want and the game we wanted. So what I think Villanova is going to beat Delaware. Delaware has looked great, but Villanova has their number. Villanova's coming off of a great performance in their last game. So let's have Villanova and Delaware both will have 1 loss. And come on, who do you think I'm going to pick in the other game? It's going to be a curb stomping. Dukes by 90, baby. Dukes over Richmond.
Dukes by 90. So, Jamie, you do get the selection there in the prediction between Delaware and Nova. And your final prediction is that Villanova wins that game. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome. Okay. But not just because it's CAA doesn't mean you get every final call, as I'm going to rotate final calls through. Chris Hammond, a man of the people, you actually get to pick the Richmond versus JMU game this weekend. And of course, we're looking for accuracy here more than emotion. How do you feel that game plays out? And who do you think is the winner in that matchup? As of right now, we'll pretend these games are being played in some hypothetical early morning order. We've just seen Delaware lose to Villanova, and now we have Richmond versus JMU. What do you think, Chris? Who wins that game this weekend?
Well, it's going to be tough to pick against James Madison, even if they have been to their standards down a little bit this spring. But I mean, man, it's a rivalry game. It's a rivalry game Richmond hasn't had a shot in a while. It's a rivalry game that seems primed for spring chaos. I'll take the Spiders.
Whoa, you're going to take the Spiders in a victory?
They are undefeated right now. I don't know why I would pick them to get a loss now.
Oh my goodness. So now everybody's going to say, this thing's a bust. It's ridiculous unless Chris Hammond comes through on this. Jamie in there's just grinning. All right, man. You get the
He did it on purpose. It's fine.
You get the
I like the
final
Dukes,
call.
though. I'm rocking purple.
That's right.
Rocking purple. Hey, Jason Groomes right now is he's looking at, we're going to make his map tough on this one. So, all right, boys, that's your prediction. So we would have Richmond defeating James Madison. Richmond going on to 4-0. JMU, they're at 4-1.
I feel the Lawrence text already coming.
Because of Chris's upset pick there, Jamie, who do we sit with the auto bid? At that point, is Richmond the auto bid team at undefeated and 4-0?
In this hypothetical and completely fake scenario, yeah, Richmond would win the auto bid. Somebody find me what the spread is on that, Chris. We might have to talk later in the week.
It's early. I'll see if I can find it.
We're going to need an auto bid for that, or we're going to need a beer bet for that, not an auto bid, guys. So there you go. We've filled the CAA. We have the 2 predictions, and in our bracket and our hypothetical right now, we're going to take Richmond to be the auto bid. So there you go. All right, guys, let's move on to our next conference. We're going to go right into the Missouri Valley for the auto bid. So now it's time to pick or figure that whole thing out. And via Jeff Colhane from Mike Kern with Valley Football, the winner of NDSU and SDSU is going to get that auto bid. So I'm going to read off kind of the explanation of what we received. But NDSU wins, they will have beaten both UND and Missouri State. And South Dakota State wins, they will have the best win against a common opponent, NDSU. The UND win over SDSU won't matter since Missouri State, UND, and SDSU didn't all play one another. So there's a lot to digest there. We're not going to get too much into it in this podcast. All you really need to know is that based off the Valley's take, NDSU and SDSU is basically the conference title this weekend, and the winner is going to be the auto bid.
How is that? It feels so Big Ten to me. Like Missouri State is sitting at number 2 in the standings, 5-1. If NDSU loses this week and Missouri State wins, Missouri State would be 6-1 in conference, and South Dakota State would be 5-1. How is the 6-1 team not? I mean, Missouri I know they just read it, but I mean, that's one more victory. Who knows if South Dakota State would have lost? You know, like I don't like that.
Jason Groomes, our main man. Why don't you bring in some facts on what you have for the Missouri Valley's take on that?
Well, Missouri State doesn't play this week, so they're done with their 5-1. They've also lost those 3 games, 2 of which were to Central Arkansas in the fall, and then the 1 game that they lost to Oklahoma in the FBS, which doesn't really count against them, but it's still a loss. So, I mean, technically they're really 5-4. They're not going to get a bid because they don't have a tiebreaker and they've got 3 losses. If you're going to discount all the other teams that have 3 losses, like Southern Illinois right now, then you got to discount Missouri State also.
There we go. There's got to be some perspective, and also the spring season rules are made up and points don't matter. Whose line is it anyways?
That's for damn sure.
But hey, Kylor, I have you marked as the picker of this game. So North Dakota State at home versus South Dakota State. I will give no opinions as I'll be on Jackrabbit Illustrated for my prediction here in 2 days. Kylor, what do you think, man? Tell us how you think that game plays out and who the victor is for the auto bid.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad you gave me this because, I am the Valley expert by far. Everyone else is trash. I'm joking, but okay. So South Dakota State has not played in literally 8 months. Yeah, I mean, that's what it feels like. They have not played. But for the first time in this 2010 NDSU Bison dynasty that we have lived in, first time throughout this whole run, the Bison do not have a top 15 defense in the FCS. The Bison do not have a top 40 offense. The whole time I said you need to be either one or the other. You need a great offense versus a good defense, or you need a great defense versus a good offense in order to be a title contender. You know who has those? SDSU. The Bison does not. I'm going with the Jackrabbits to beat the Bison because it's the motto I've always been going by. To be a real title contender, you need those 2 things, and the Bison has neither.
I just love how the instant you started talking ill about the Bison, StreamYard tried to cut out your audio. You didn't know that, but it immediately started trying to cut you out.
That wasn't StreamYard. That was me. I'm hosting this. I was just like, I'm going to turn him way down.
I agree with Kylor.
It's all fake.
Yeah.
It's Fugazi.
We were, 5 weeks ago on the show saying, doubt NDSU at their peril. They might not make the playoffs this year. Da-da-da-da-da. In that time, I still said I think they would make the playoffs. That being said, I think South Dakota State's a better team. I think South Dakota State's going to win. NDSU will make the playoffs. NDSU will probably still make a run at Frisco, which is basically what we talked about on this show 5-6 weeks ago. So,
yeah, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I predicted 23-20 Jackrabbits. I haven't seen the Jackrabbits play, but I saw Northern Iowa's offense outscore North Dakota State's offense last week. So I'm good with that pick.
Northern Iowa has an offense?
They did last week.
So many points to bring up, but tune in to Jackrabbit Illustrated on Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. South Dakota State, though, Kylor with the pick. I love it. So that clinches up the Missouri Valley auto bid. Right now, just keeping track of everything. Big Sky is owned by Weber, Big South Monmouth, CAA Richmond, Missouri Valley, South Dakota State, Sacred Heart in the NEC, Jacksonville State in the OVC. Those are all teams that are in, and Southland, Sam Houston. So we have the Patriot, the Pioneer, and the SoCon auto bids to figure out here, guys, based off prediction. And let's roll right into the Patriot League, where 2-0 Holy Cross is going to take on 2-1 Bucknell in the Patriot League Championship, and the winner gets the auto bid. So this is a preset thing. They split their conference into 2 divisions, and now you're going to have those 2 division winners meeting up with 2-0 Holy Cross and 2-1 Bucknell. I personally got the pick on this one, guys, and I did a little bit of my own digging and research. Fordham is the common opponent. They both played them, even on only a 5-game combined schedule. And Bucknell lost 31-17, and Holy Cross won 20-3. While that doesn't always tell the whole story, look at Bucknell's wins, and I do not like teams with inconsistency. I'm not a fan of that. Show me who you are. And Bucknell won 38-13, 6-0, and then lost 31-17. That's like blowout win, barely win, good defensive effort, and then a bad loss. So Holy Cross with 2 solid wins. I love that they have a senior quarterback in Connor Dagenhard, and he's 6'6", 214 pounds. I stole that straight from the depth chart. Give me the senior quarterback who led them to a title last year in 2019. Give me consistency. Give me a team that, is returning kind of what they did last year. I'm taking Holy Cross, guys, to win in that matchup. Does anybody have faith in the Bucknell Bison, or am I spot on with this one? Is Holy Cross taking it?
Holy Cross, yeah. I don't think it's that close.
All
Purple
Bison
continues.
All Bison are trash. Well, Bucknell, unfortunately, you've had a good season, but based off my prediction, I am taking Holy Cross, giving the auto bid to the Crusaders. So congratulations to them. Moving on, guys, to our second to last league for the auto bids, the Pioneer League. So, man, the Pioneer League is absolute chaos. Davidson lost its first spring conference game to Presbyterian 29-24 on Saturday. That leaves 3 one-loss teams in the standings: USD, Presbyterian, and Davidson. USD being San Diego. And Davidson is currently ahead at 4-1 with a tiebreaker over San Diego. Jason Groomes, our man, wrote up a big thing on College Sports Madness for us. It's a long paragraph, but just to kind of keep it simple, guys, if Davidson does lose, or if Davidson beats Stetson, who currently has no wins this Saturday, Davidson is going to win, and they're going to auto bid into the conference. So the real question is, before I get into any other hypotheticals, is Kylor, this is once again your prediction. Do you believe Davidson is going to get upset by winless Stetson? And if so, why?
So here's the deal. Davidson and Stetson played earlier in the year. It was a very close contested game, probably Stetson's best game all year. Now, Stetson has been outscored 47-117 throughout this whole season. There's no fluke why they're 0-4. They are not a good team. But just because I want Eastern potentially to play San Diego in the first round, what we're doing is we are going with the miracle on the football field, miracle on ice, whatever you will. Stetson gets its first win. They upset Davidson. San Diego gets the win.
So Davidson gets upset, and you believe South Dakota goes to Valpo, gets the victory, and San Diego. I'm already messing up the USD. San Diego gets that victory over Valpo. That's your call?
Yep, and then they come to Cheney.
There you go. And then
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, Kylor, it's your pick. It's your final pick, man. But I got to push back on you. I don't know how an 0-4 team in Stetson remotely loses to Davidson, who's had a really good spring season.
Stetson lost 26-20 week 1 to Davidson, then lost 31-14 to Morehead State, then lost 26-3 to Presbyterian, and then 34-10 to USD.
Oh, Stetson's
on the come
bad.
up.
It sounds like some week 1 rust might have been the reason it was close week 1.
On the come up, baby.
But hey, I'm the people's champ. I'm with you. Let's go Hatters.
Wait, hold on. Are we overriding picks here? Because I need to go back a couple conferences.
You gotta go back a few. Oh man. Hey, we're here for the chaos in the spring. And you know what? Everyone's gonna listen to this on Wednesday, Thursday, whenever they catch it, and they're gonna go, these guys are morons.
And then we're gonna look like mad geniuses.
Yeah.
On
Yep. College sports mad geniuses. Shout out to Jason Groomes and the work he does.
To be fair, we got 3 of the top 10 in the FCS pick'em this spring.
Yeah, we're not doing too bad, but Kylor, I'm still going to push back, man. I don't think that happens, but it is your final pick.
You should, but I overrule.
That's worse than my Richmond pick. Wins. But you know what? It's spring baby madness. Let's go.
If Kylor wants San Diego to win and then go upset a Big Sky team in round 1 like they always do, then that's completely fine. They'll go up to Cheney and they'll pull that off. It should be fun to watch.
We got March Madness. Now we got Asinine April. Let's go.
Good stuff, guys. I love it. So we have in the Pioneer League, San Diego continues that dominance, even though we thought they might fall off after their big win streak gets cut short by Davidson. So Pioneer League to San Diego. All right, Jamie, are you ready? Chris, are you ready for the next one?
Hell yeah,
Let's
brother.
go.
We're into the SoCon, which credit to Jamie and Chris from mainly the beginning of the spring season. You guys called teams like VMI, teams like Mercer. You guys were on the ball. So as crazy as our auto bids sound right now, people called you crazy 6-7 weeks ago. So let's talk a little bit about the SoCon, guys. It seems very confusing, but once again, thanks to the good work of Mr. Groomes, we have explanation. In terms of VMI is in the lead right now at 5-1 with a loss to ETSU. And ETSU is at 4-2 and Mercer's at 5-2. Those are, your conference standings. That's not overall. VMI will host the Citadel in the Military Classic of the South rivalry. And if VMI wins, they're the auto bid. That's simple as that, guys.
That's
right?
the one with the corn dog hat, right?
Corn dog hat. There you go. If Mercer and VMI both lose, it's VMI. If Mercer wins and VMI loses, Mercer receives the auto bid. So the real question to start with, starting with you, Chris, is does Mercer win Saturday at Samford? So that's kind of our first question. What do you think?
Well, you kind of get a tough opponent in Samford. Not in the sense of this year, Samford's not what Samford is, but traditionally in the SoCon, Samford's been a team that's always there, at least. And if you're an upstart team playing like Mercer, playing a always there team, such as a Samford, a Wofford, a Furman, not exactly what you want to run into, right? That being said, I think Mercer wins. I'll let Jamie move on to his thing because I don't think it's going to matter.
All right. So Chris has the prediction there. He's going to go with Mercer.
Go Bears.
Of course, just to recap, if you guys are wondering why we're throwing predictions in with all this stuff, these games need to happen and occur for us to be able to select auto bids and move into the next step of this. So, Jamie, that means we need to move into a prediction here for VMI going to the Citadel. And that is a big time rivalry, one that people really underestimate in the landscape of the FCS. So I would say anything could happen, especially with a QB injury. But what do you think, my man? Do you think VMI gets the victory there?
Well, where do you guys think I'm going with this? Come on now. I'm not going to change now. Kylor laughed at me 6 weeks ago, maybe even 5 weeks ago. Hell, he might have laughed at me 3 weeks ago. And you know what? Before I get there, Samford is a high event football team. They give up a lot of points. They score a lot of points. So anything could happen there, but it doesn't matter. VMI will beat the Citadel. So VMI is your SoCon champion, fellas. You heard it here first. You hear it here last.
Good year by the Bears, but book it for VMI. Chris, you agree, man? You guys are the SoCon experts here.
Yep. And I just want to say, Kylor laughed at me with both of my Bears picks, Missouri State and Mercer, and both look pretty damn good this year. So
that they do.
So if you want, Kylor is usually right, but if you want him to be wrong, pick a Bear team not named Grizzlies, and you'll probably got a shot at getting it right.
Like Baylor over Gonzaga, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Always pick Northern Colorado.
Northern Colorado is probably good. You just jinxed them. They're going to be bad now because you actually like them, so they're going to be really bad.
Caffrey, let's go.
Kylor liking a team and jinxing them is like Matt Frazee picking a team. It's just going to all fall apart after that. Good stuff, guys. Hey, we have set our auto bids. I'm sure we're getting a lot of heat right now through the radio waves, but let's announce them, guys. Down the line, our 10 auto bids for the FCS playoffs are going to be the Big Sky of Weber State, Monmouth in the Big South, Richmond, the Spiders in the CAA, Missouri Valley, South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, NEC Sacred Heart, OVC Jacksonville State, Patriot League, Holy Cross makes it again 2 years in a row, Pioneer League, San Diego because of the trip up of Davidson. Virginia Military Institute takes the SoCon, as was well predicted by Mr. Jamie Williams. And as we said in the beginning, the Southland, Sam Houston is your auto bid. Man, a lot of people didn't pick Sam Houston. Crazy stuff.
Anybody pick Sam Houston?
Yeah.
Anybody?
I think all of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of
Early
us?
in the year, though?
Every single one of us?
Kylor's been high on them all year.
I'm trying to give Matt a chance to toot his horn here, guys.
That's his Mercer.
That
That's
was
his
his
Mercer.
Yep. I gotta give Kylor some credit. Kylor and I we were a dual team on that one. I think we loved the defense.
While we're at it, do we all remember who Matt's sleeper team was? They were also in the SoCon.
That's why the name tags, if you're watching on YouTube tonight, are Furman purple to represent. If in 2021, my personal dark horse team is going to be Furman because of recruiting. I think they got a lot of good things. No, I'm not going to go down that line. All right.
Portland State too.
Portland State, throw them in. All right, gentlemen, we have the auto bids set. Mr. Groomes, everything going good on your end? You got those written down, sir?
You're killing me.
He hates it. I knew it.
Let's have Jason have a quick 2-minute reaction to our auto bids.
I knew when Jason was
he
on
deserves it.
I'm like, I was messaging Jason. I'm like, just so you're aware, we are not the experts like you. This may get a little off the rails, but Jason, yeah, before we get into the at-larges, give us your 2-minute honest feedback, destroy or compliment what we got going on here. What do you think of those 10 auto bids?
Well, let's see. Richmond, I'm going to have to go with Jamie on this one. I don't see how they win anything against. Are they even going to pass the 50-yard line?
Once or twice.
Maybe. It's going to look like Northern Iowa's offense back in December last year. It was terrible. It's really hard to say, because I did that piece for College Sports Madness this afternoon, and I was looking at James Madison and Richmond's. Well, if you want to call it strength of schedule, it's actually wimpness of schedule, if you want to do it like that. But it's just like, when all you play is Elon and William and Mary, what do you got to compare to, So, theoretically, if this happened, I don't know that James Madison would even necessarily make the field because their strength of schedule is so horrid. I think they're probably safe just on name recognition.
They would.
Right. But that strength of schedule just looks so bad. I wrote their 4 combined opponents are 5 and 13. 3 of those are supplied by a non-scholarship school, which is Morehead State. And the other one, right. And then one of those other 2 is supplied because Elon and William and Mary played each other. So it doesn't look good for that strength of schedule. And I don't know how the committee put James Madison as a number 1 seed when they released those last weekend, but maybe they know something that I don't know.
Good.
To be fair, Richmond did beat Elon by 14 and 24, and James Madison only did by 3.
What about
there you go.
There we go. I guess we have our answer.
It's not that crazy.
The best thing about this entire thing, honestly, is that now the real debate, gentlemen, is about to start. Mr. Groomes, you better get the pen and paper ready because the at-larges are about to kick in for this podcast. And that means that we need to determine the 6 teams that actually are going to make the field. And because of the chaotic predictions, we now have teams like North Dakota State and James Madison on the outside looking in without an auto bid and a straight path. So, gentlemen, this is how auto bids are going to work. I have it broken down a little bit. We're each going to get 1 pick here. So teams number 11, 12, 13, 14. I'll take the first one. Jamie, you're going to get the second. Kylor, you'll have final say in the third. Chris on the 14th, I should say. But then because, Jamie, you're a stats voter, I'm going to give you the final say for the 15th pick. And Chris, because you haven't been included on the intro to this podcast all spring, I'm going to give you final say on the 16th as a
that's
as
a lot of
favor.
stress.
Yeah, you're going to get the last one in.
Thanks for the favor.
Yeah, I may have done it on purpose. So, all right, gentlemen, let's just kind of kick into this with some open discussion with maybe some of the ones we feel are simpler.
So we're not talking seating, right? Or like who's going where. We're just taking picking at larges?
No, sir. Yeah, correct,
Okay.
Chris. We're going to just pick at larges, then we're going to pick the seeds, and then our main man, Jason Groomes, here is going to just tell us where teams will go based off bracketology. So let's start with one that I think most people will agree on. Kylor, let's start with Eastern Washington. Ultimately, this is going to be my pick to see who gets in, but make your case for the Eagles being an at-large team.
Yeah, there's not many one-loss teams in the FCS. There's also not many teams that have beaten every single team on their schedule, which now is Eastern Washington. They have beaten every single team that they have played, which is not untrue. It's a fact. So when you're looking at a big three team, the Big Sky, Missouri Valley, the CAA, the Big Sky should get 2, and Eastern Washington now, they've beaten everyone that they played, so might as well give them an at-large.
Yeah, with UC Davis having no shot, you'd be shocked to see the Big Sky be a one-bid team. Could have happened maybe if Eastern had lost that final game against Idaho, but I have no pushback on that. I'm guessing Jamie and Chris don't either, but I think for the committee's sake, if they're in that room, I think Eastern Washington is going to be an easy pencil in, and since I do have the final say, I'm not going to spend much discussion on this because it's so simple. Eastern Washington into the field, unless, Chris, you got something, my man?
Not on Eastern. I do want to say, it probably won't come up the rest because the Big Sky's shut-doored now. UC Davis should get a shot. They're number 13 team in the country. I think they are getting hit by national perception of not being ranked in the beginning of the season and playing in a conference that is worried about 3 teams that were in the playoffs last year not playing, even though they were in the playoffs 2 years ago and those 3 teams weren't. So I think it's unfortunate, and I want UC Davis fans out there to know that I think you're getting a shaft job, but it is the way that it is.
Well, Chris, I got them down here, so we will throw them in. I'm guessing they'll be around.
They're not getting picked, though.
Yeah. We got them down.
Just for hypothetical.
Got them down. All right, boys. So we have 11 teams in. Eastern's our first at large, which is a simple one. Looking at the CAA chaos, now that we have Richmond in the field, actually, let's kind of forgo that. Let's kind of look at more of the simpler ones. First things first, my prediction for UND going to Youngstown this weekend is UND wins. Okay. I'm pretty sure most people will agree to that. So UND, they're sitting with 1 loss. They're going to sit at 5-1. Ultimately, Jamie, this is your pick. But what are your thoughts on UND being an at-large team if they are 5-1 after this weekend?
Yeah, you can't keep them out. They better not even make this game close against Youngstown. Don't give the committee anything to think about. But I think they're already in with the win, no matter how close it is. They've got some nice wins. They have the tough loss against their big brother down in Fargo, which I think a lot of us thought might happen. Some didn't, but that game didn't go their way. But other than that, there's no reason to keep them out.
Yeah, the win against South Dakota State at home, Southern Illinois win, which SIU doesn't look like a super win, but at the time was good quality. Getting beat up by your rival, but besides that, once again, just like Kylor said, just a 1-loss team. There's not many out there, and you're going to have at least a really good quality win with South Dakota State. So kudos to them. I think, is that official lock it in, Jamie, number 12? We want to throw UND in there?
Lock them in.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right, so let's go into some more deep, or maybe another toss me. Kylor, what do you think? You predicted South Dakota State to win for the Dakota Marker this weekend. So where does that put North Dakota State at? Is that team in the playoffs, or are they out at 6-2 now?
Yeah, I mean, North Dakota State is arguably the worst team in the FCS this year, and they are still locked in for the playoffs, and they have been for a while. A loss, all jokes aside, the Missouri Valley looks strong this year. They have a win against a playoff team in terms of UND, and they absolutely dismantled them. They had one hiccup versus Southern Illinois, and then they're going to have another hiccup versus South Dakota State. But with playoff field wins, not many teams are going to be in the playoffs that have win over other playoff teams. North Dakota State is in the Valley because the Valley is getting 3 total teams.
Good stuff. All right, so Eastern Washington, UND, and NDSU join the field at 11, 12, and 13. Mr. Hammond, that brings us to number 14 here. Do you have the list in front of you, Chris?
Yeah, I do.
All right, man. I'm going to let you kind of take it here because now things I really do believe are going to start to get sketchy in terms of the unknown. So who do you personally think should be in there, and then let us throw some counters at you if we disagree.
Yeah. And to be fair, if you took blind resumes here, I mean, other than the games played, 2 lost UC Davis against 2 top 10 teams by 10 compared to NDSU got blown out by Southern Illinois. Just saying, UC Davis, but I'll take Delaware.
Eastern beat UC Davis by 10. But
That's what I'm saying. Both games were 10-point games.
no, was only 5.
Well, either way, 15 points then. Even
There you
closer.
go. There you go.
Better than whatever the Southern Illinois lost by NDSU, and if they lose to South Dakota State. I'm just saying UCD, top 10 losses, and yet nobody even wants to consider them as a at-large contender except me, apparently. So I will stand there and I will die on this hill. That resume alone, blind tested, if it was from anybody but UCD, probably would get in. But I'll take Delaware. I think they're the easy plug here.
Do you think it's that simple though, Chris? So they lost to Villanova in our hypothetical. So I don't see any quality outside of that. They blanked Maine. They virtually blanked Stony Brook. They beat Delaware State by 20. And then you play Rhode Island, who at the time people are like, ooh, let's see what they do. They win by 13 points. So they're 4-1. Yeah, they're a one-loss team. But why is that? You know, James Madison's also sitting there. Don't you think some of the benefit of the doubt goes to a team?
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
JMU.
I screwed over JMU. I will correct my wrong here. That is correct. JMU would go before a Delaware loss to Villanova, which in real I don't think is going to happen. But in our little fake scenario here, yes, if Delaware loses and JMU loses, JMU would get the auto AQ here, or at large.
Do you think it's that simple there, Kylor?
Yeah.
Do you think JMU and Delaware is as simple as plugging in the Dukes? What do you think?
I mean, I don't think we had an open discussion on if Delaware's losing to Villanova. I don't think anyone thinks Delaware is losing to Villanova. But for this Jamie, I don't care what you say.
To be fair, I think JMU is losing to Richmond. So
hey, boys,
both of your guys' CAA picks are as bad as my Stetson. But hey, who cares? I think Delaware, in terms of strength of schedule, is already above JMU. If you are looking at pure resume, I don't care what the committee says.
Yeah.
If you're looking at pure resume, Delaware overall has looked better than James Madison. If James Madison is losing to Richmond and Delaware is losing to Villanova, how many people think Villanova is at least on par with Richmond?
Kylor's right. I'm sorry, Jason. Change my pick. I'm sticking with my Delaware.
This is why
it's definitely the right pick. I knew it when I said it. I got coaxed in because I'm like, oh yeah, James and Madison. I'm not following on name recognition.
I mean, well, the only thing I have an issue with is we already knew what type of cards the committee is holding in their hand. They have James Madison as the number 1 overall team. Even if they lose to Richmond, I have a hard time thinking the committee is going to completely dismantle them and drop them out. If Richmond wins against JMU, my guess is the committee skyrockets Richmond up in the top 10 to probably the top 7, and JMU probably in the top 8. I still have a hard time thinking the committee is going to drop JMU anywhere because they have had a weak schedule, like Jason has said. They have not had really great opponents. They haven't looked absolutely dominant either compared to Delaware, but the committee still put them as number 1, which means JMU should be in the playoffs even with a loss, just because the committee put their cards out.
Kylor, I like that you bring up the point of the real committee and that stuff, and I think you're 100% accurate. However, we are the committee in tonight's episode.
Richmond is ranked 12th in the stats poll, 1 spot ahead again of UC Davis.
Ooh. Jamie, one more bit of input from you here before Chris makes his final call, because I think everyone's got an opinion on this. I think while I initially pushed back on Delaware a little bit, once you match up Delaware with JMU, if you took it all blind, I don't know, man. I'm an undecided voter. I'll show up at the last second and throw it in. Jamie, what's your argument for or against? How would you predict this? You're a CAA fan, but what do you think?
I mean, like Kylor said, the committee showed their hand. I think they're going to put JMU in, even if we lose. We're not going to lose, so that's not going to matter. But in this fantasy world that we're living in here today, if we lose to Richmond, if we lose by 20 points, they can't put us in. I mean, there's no rhyme or
You
reason to
have to
do
put the
it.
number one team in the country. Like last week of the season, number one loses. They
But
have to get in.
stats doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything.
That's
If
But
James
it was also
Madison,
the committee's number one team.
if James
Yeah, the
Madison,
committee's number one.
if James Madison loses by 20, why are they better than Murray State? Why are they better than Kennesaw State? Why? Just because they're James Madison Dukes?
Because our defense is better.
Because
Eye
the defense
test.
is better? Oh,
Because
Robin
his
on
hat
there,
is
too.
absolutely beautiful.
Damn right.
come on. All right. Okay,
Purple.
Chris.
I'm sticking with my Delaware Blue Hens. Let's go.
All right, man. Delaware, lock them in. We're going to put Delhi in this situation with JMU losing, and they're going to be team number 14.
I'm never going to be invited to Harrisonburg, which is sad because I actually like the Dukes.
No, you come on. You can come.
Yes.
I love it. All right. Hey there, Jamie. You are actually you have the ability to take the 15th team in. So if you're looking across the board at what we have remaining, you are going to see teams for our listeners on the bubble like ETSU, Missouri State. I mentioned already Murray State, maybe an Austin Peace, CELA, depending on how they play against Southern Illinois, depending on how they play CELA, Mercer, Kennesaw, lots of these teams. Maybe you still throw a Villanova in there and others. James Madison, obviously, still there as well. So looking at all of that, Jamie, what do you think, man? Who's your initial throw out that we can debate on?
Well, Chris is going to do the right thing with the 16th pick, and he's going to put us in because he knows he messed up early.
Don't put that evil on me. You sure? I've been pumping UC Davis real hard this show.
He gets final pick.
That's okay. No, the team I think I'm going to talk about, and I want us to talk about, is Southeastern Louisiana, because they're going to have a sneaky good resume if they beat Southern Illinois. I know they're going on the road, but at 5-2, they're the only team that's played Sam Houston that close. I mean, they were one drive away from winning that game against Sam Houston. Who else did they lose to? Somebody they shouldn't have.
Yeah, no. Incarnate Word. Yep.
Incarnate Word. Yeah, that shouldn't have happened. But then they went and they beat Nichols, and we can debate what we think Nichols is, but then if you beat Southern Illinois, that's a really good win too, despite what's happened to Southern Illinois recently, falling off. So, what do you guys think about Southeastern Louisiana? Because I've really got my eye on them.
So, in this situation, you have predicted Southeastern Louisiana beat Southern Illinois. Is that correct?
I do.
Okay, so CELA beats SIU, which takes SIU basically out of the bubble. What do you guys personally feel about bringing a second Southland team in as CELA? Kylor, I'm seeing a head nod no. What do you think?
As good as the Southland looks on paper, they look like they are very improved. They're a 2-loss team in the Southland, and the Southland hasn't gotten the most credit. Now, I do think the Southland is the potentially 4th best conference, and they may deserve 2 bids out of everyone else. But I think 2 losses hurts them. And also, I don't think a win over South Illinois or Southern Illinois is actually as good as a win everyone's making it out to be, because there's a lot of Valley bias. I'm not that positive, and I also don't think CELA probably even wins that game, even though I just said Southern Illinois isn't that good. I don't know. This one's hard. That 6th bid, I think it can go to 5 different teams, and I'm just kind of concerned. I'm not positive after that Incarnate Word loss that CELA has enough to get in, because I don't think they actually have any good wins anymore, because Nichols has fallen off completely.
One of the problems we're going to have if SIU doesn't win that game is, like, are you going to look at Missouri State, who's you have to count their UCA losses in the fall, but everyone's praising Missouri State right now, but their quality win is UNI, a close UNI win, and that's it. And UNI is not a playoff team. Like, there is no other quality there. People will scream 5-1 and Co-Valley champs and this stuff, but I'm not sold. If CELA has beaten SIU at this point, I would view CELA better than I would Missouri State, and I would view CELA better than Kennesaw, who, has a D2 win and got crushed by Monmouth. I mean, I don't hate it at all. I honestly wasn't focusing in on them until Jamie brought them up. Chris, what do you think real quick, man?
No, but it's a nice sentiment. I mean, I do think the Southland probably should get a second whack at it, but I think, like Kylor said, Nichols was that team, and unfortunately, I don't think a win over Southern Illinois is going to be enough to really shake me. Southern Illinois, while looking good at times, at the end of the day is what, 3-3?
So is East Tennessee State your replacement? That's the question.
No, I think
who's
the problem we're running into is exactly what we run into when we get to 24 teams with a full field. There's no quality for those last couple of spots. And that's why I said last week with Brendan, 16 to 20 is fine with a full slate of teams, because then you actually can debate the last teams and it's actually good teams. Right now we're looking at Southeastern Louisiana, and then the other one, are we looking at Mercer? Because they're going to have, right now they have 3 straight ranked wins, however you want to call that, but they've got losses in the fall. I just don't see that last team is going to be tough, and I don't know where the committee's going to go with it.
A 2-loss team out of the Big Sky that's only 2 losses, which are the top 10 teams by 15 combined points. What are we doing here? I don't know. How is this not in everyone's head? What do you mean there's not quality? Like, there's a top 15 team sitting there.
They only got 3 wins, man.
Only
3 wins.
And they beat everybody except their 2 top 10 teams. Like, how is that? How are we talking? And I'm the Mercer guy. How are we talking Mercer over UC Davis? How are we talking Sela over UC Davis? This is ridiculous to me. I'm not trying to be the Big Sky high horse here, but like, holy smokes, man. Holy smokes.
It's the thing. I'm at a loss for words. I don't really know who I would place here. And it's exactly what Jamie is saying. You're at the point where you're like, okay, well, it's too tough.
I mean,
Southern Illinois. Hey. Here's why, Chris. Here's my pick. Southern Illinois is number 16 in the polls right now. Selaw's a fringe last team in bubble. If they beat SIU at the end, it's like that total justification to say, okay, beat Nichols, which at the time was viewed like a win, but lost to Sam Houston close and ended with a ranked win in the last week. They've got 5 wins now. I mean, Jamie, you make the ultimate call here, but I kind of back the Sela pick.
Let me rebuttal real quick, because in this we're basing this off of this hypothetical that, we did crazy things where Villanova beat Delaware, Richmond beat JMU. Those aren't going to happen. So then Sela will deserve to be in there. But since we did this crazy hypothetical that is not truly going to happen, you will have 4 CAA teams with 1 loss. Tell me Villanova doesn't deserve to be over Sela. Tell me Richmond doesn't deserve to be over Sela. Tell me JMU doesn't deserve to be over Sela. Tell me Delaware doesn't deserve to be over Sela in this weird hypothetical that you bastards created up top.
Sela had a ranked win at the end.
We will all have wins over playoff teams in this scenario that we created up above. Sela will not.
And while I brought up Southeastern Louisiana, my pick is going to be Villanova. So
yeah, you're right. You're right, Kylor. That's good.
I forgot we could just talk of whoever.
But it's because we did some weird thing that's not going to happen at the very top of this that is creating some chaos. So
hold up, guys. Let me talk real quick. Battle of the Blue for the Villanova, Delaware. Since 2006, Delaware's won that game 1 time, and it was not the year that Delaware won the national championship.
Right.
Villanova has won that game every year since 2012. It's not that far-fetched.
No, I don't think that's far-fetched. I don't think
honestly,
Richmond beats JMU.
I think Richmond beating JMU, I think Chris will be a genius if he hits it. But I think, honestly, if you look at our auto bids, that's the only one that's a real head-scratcher, because SDSU could beat NDSU. No problem.
Stetson is a real head-scratcher.
No. Oh, yeah, Stetson and Davidson. Yeah, there you go. All right, boys. Jamie, you're locking in Sela.
Locking in Villanova. I was talking about Sela. Villanova's the right call.
Okay.
And so you're literally leaving me now.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to make me put 4 CAA teams into our field.
Ooh.
You created it.
But then you're trying to make me the guy here at the end who puts
because
4
otherwise I'm
CAA.
a homer.
I'm a big Bobby Petrino guy. I could go with Missouri State here. Talk me out of Missouri State.
As the committee, here you go. Listen to me, guys. There's no way on God's green earth, Chris, can you put James Madison in here? Because we put in 6 CAA teams, us 4 individuals who picked the field in when was it, 2018? We put 6 CAA teams.
And we were right.
And most of them got blasted. And now we're just one of them
didn't.
Yeah, not till the end.
Not till the semifinals.
Oh, semifinals. So are we really going to make that mistake again? Are we really going to pull that off?
I want to be talked out of Missouri State and UC Davis because right now I don't know if I can put 4 CAA teams in.
Jason
I'm not putting CLA.
Jason already talked you out of Missouri State, and it was the right pick. They literally have
talked
2
me out
losses.
of how they can't win the Missouri Valley. I could still pick them as an AQ.
They have no more games. They have no more games.
So they're 5-1 in Missouri Valley this year.
They're 5-4 overall.
They didn't play 2 of the top 3 teams in the Missouri Valley.
They also lost to UCA twice. The Central
AQ is SDSU
and wouldn't UCA be considered a playoff team this year? So their losses are to UCA, who is a possible playoff team, and Oklahoma.
UCA also lost to a very bad team in the fall. They're already out of the playoffs too. They lost to North Dakota State and then a very bad team.
Eastern Kentucky.
Yep.
I don't know. So that's you talking me out of it? That didn't sell me on it.
It was the facts.
5-1 in the Missouri Valley, who's apparently the best conference in the FCS.
5-5.
If JMU loses, is it that crazy to think they won't be there? Like, I don't think JMU loses. Let me just say that right off the bat. They're going to beat Richmond. But if they did, is it that crazy to leave them out? Because let's just say JMU magically is in the FBS right now. Anything else you say could make sense, Chris. Because the one hang up here is going to be JMU. We're all going to be like, well, you got to include the Dukes. But if they lose, do you?
6 at-large bids, and you expect to give 3 of them to one conference that, by all accounts, hasn't overly impressed compared to a conference like the Missouri Valley, which apparently has, according to Craig Haley, the most people in his Athlon poll, and I believe the most in his stats poll.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So we're going to put 2 teams in from the Missouri Valley. We're going to put 4 in from, my math is correct here, from the CAA. Like, I'm not doing that. What?
You've got 3 Valley teams right now.
Is Mercer?
But not at large. Not at large. They'd be taking 2 at large.
Haunting you. That Richmond pick's haunting you.
Yeah, that's what's
No, because I'm confident. I actually think Richmond's going to win this weekend. That's not haunting me at all. I actually think they're going to win.
Chris, do you see? Do you have Murray State as an option? Do you have Austin P as an option in your mind? Is East Tennessee State popping up for you at all?
Murray State would be the closest here, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think my pick's made. I've been saying it all day. There is a team that is getting disrespected, and just because they had a loss, does not make them out of it by any means.
So, who is the final?
We're going JMU, baby.
Oh, he's dropping the Dukes in there last second. There you go.
Guys, I gotta say,
all is right with the world.
I really try to string Jamie along there. That's no question.
Hey, it's your pick, buddy.
I love all of you guys, but this is the worst bracket I have ever seen.
It's pretty bad.
Whoa.
It's so
now let's
bad.
record the alternate ending where we say we're geniuses.
No,
we'll
this
just
is
decide
horrible.
to play one on Sunday.
We all drank a little bit too much and screwed this whole thing over. This is not realistic, and I'm sorry, Jason Groomes, that we brought you on here to post the most dumb bracket anyone has ever seen.
Hey,
You're killing me.
Hey, this is what's going to make it fun for Jason, though. I mean, everything's been so consistent and normal for him. Why not throw him a map where he's got to really get crazy with it? So we'll take it. Guys, a recap here before we select our 4 seeds. We have our 10 auto bids, but for at-larges, we selected Eastern Washington, UND, NDSU, Delaware, Villanova, James Madison, Bruce Edmiston, Robert Farguson, Jacob Martinez. Man, I could go down the line. Anyone outside of the Power 3 schools or not Big 3 schools on our page. Oh, they hate us right now. They are we deserve
Power 5.
Man, we deserve everything coming towards us in the comment section because this is not pretty.
It's not going to be good.
But that's okay. Let's move into seeding, guys, because this will be a lot of fun. So we're going to finish it up with seeding, and then we'll get Jason's take on where these brackets would take us. But looking at some seeds here, doesn't matter about auto bids. Doesn't matter if you're in it at large. At some point, we're going to have 4 seeds, and it's time to select them. And we're going to go in this order. Chris, you're going to select the number 1 overall seed, since you have a team that's right now not going to be in the playoffs.
I mean, if South Dakota State beats NDSU and James Madison loses to Richmond, it's going to be SDSU.
Okay, so in our hypothetical, South Dakota State is our 1 seed. Kylor, you will be selecting our 2 seed since your team will most likely not be seeded in the playoffs. So we're going to give you number 2. South Dakota State number 1. Who's our 2 seed, my man?
Yeah, well, with this whole weird hypotheticals that we were doing up above, I mean, it's safe to say Sam Houston State just locked up the 2 seed.
Awesome. I like that pick a lot. Mr. Jamie Williams, you get to have the 3rd seed in this crazy bracket. Who's it going to be?
Well, you're going to be the one that gets to pick it randomly out of a hat because Weber State's the 3.
Weber State coming in there, number 3. Awesome. So I have to be the one responsible to pick the 4 seed. And we are the committee. But if I'm looking all the way across my sheet, just give me a second here. South Dakota State's off the board. I would not put Monmouth in there. I don't believe, well, my decision then is going to simply come down to the University of North Dakota and or the Richmond Spiders. I would, in a heartbeat, honestly, well, Jacksonville State, I don't know if I would put Jacksonville State over the University of North Dakota, though, just because they had that bad loss. So if they had beaten Austin Peay, it's JSU by a mile. I'll say that. I will go with UND because they beat the number 1 seed in this hypothetical scenario. If SDSU is number 1, how is the 1-loss team who will lost to a playoff team in NDSU not number 4? So there you go. Top 4 seeds. We have UND at number 4. You have Jamie. Who do we have at number 3?
It's Weber State.
Weber State. Number 2, Sam Houston. Number 1, South Dakota State. And that would be our bracket, guys. And the rest of them are going to fill in based off a variety of factors. Mr. Groomes, looking at this absolute crapshoot, give us kind of a 5-minute recap of who's traveling where in round 1 for our 16-team spring playoff. What do you got there, Mr. Groomes?
So basically, first round, here's what we've got. We've got South Dakota State. I'm going to have them hosting Holy Cross. It's a traditional thing that the committee likes to do. Seems like they like to take one of those Northeast schools and send them out to one of the powers of the Missouri Valley just to get them whipped and get them out of there quick. That way they can sort of set up what they're going to do with the second round. I would have that game, the winner of that game playing the winner of an interesting one for you, Jamie, Richmond at Delaware. What do you think of that?
Delaware by 20.
All right. The number 4 seed would be North Dakota, and I would have them playing Kylor, Eastern Washington.
Hell yeah, we've never lost to them this time either.
There you go. And the other game on that side would be North Dakota State at Villanova.
Ooh, going to Nova. Interesting. Hey, that'd be a fun little trip out
now,
there.
if they did do it by the bidding process, the chances are that game would actually be switched the other way because I don't see how North Dakota State would lose a bid. So, anyway, other side of the bracket, we've got the number 3 seed, Weber State, hosting San Diego. That's an automatic. If San Diego's in the tournament, they're going to be, I guess they do sometimes send San Diego off to the Southland, and there is a chance that they would let them play Sam Houston. But if they're going to try and keep it more regionalized this year, I think a game at Weber State would be automatic. Now, by that same token, I don't think San Diego's getting in the playoffs because Davidson's not losing to a team that's 0-4. The other game in the 3 bracket would be Virginia Military at JMU. How would you like JMU to go out to Weber again?
That's fine.
Actually,
we're going there in
they went to
September
Bridgeport
too.
before, right?
Yep. We beat them both times at our stadium. We go out there.
There you
Be a
go.
good game.
There you go. And then the last quarter would be Sacred Heart, and this is where it gets really travel crazy. Sacred Heart going all the way out to Sam Houston. So that's one of my very, very curvy lines. But as I was talking to Jamie earlier, when they have these flight matchups that they like to put together, they like to use major hubs as far as like airports and try and match these teams together. Sam Houston's right there in the Houston area. Sacred Heart's just outside of New York. So, it's an easy hop on the plane and get it across. And then the other one, which is one that's just a bad flight matchup, is Monmouth going to Jacksonville State.
Awesome.
So,
Jason, you consider it all.
Yeah, there's so many intricacies you got to do when you're like doing this bracketology, and I'm actually sweating thinking about it. It's terrible. But a lot of it, you can't just throw your pairings together. Because the committee likes these 400-mile like bus trips, they call them. So if you can set those up within the second round, that's why all these brackets that I've been setting up on College Sports Madness have had North Dakota State in that same quarter. And even though you've got Eastern Washington coming across and then you got Holy Cross coming across, I mean, what are the chances that Eastern Washington and Holy Cross are both going to win? Virtually none, because Holy Cross isn't going to beat either of the Dakota schools. So basically what the committee is doing is setting it up to where in this situation, Eastern Washington would be playing one of those other schools from the Dakotas if they happen to pull the road upset, if you want to call it an upset. And they try to do this over the entire part of the bracket. So usually when you're looking at these things, you can like dissect the actual map and none of the lines will cross each other, maybe just a little bit. So you've got it looks like 4 distinct regions, sort of like they would do if they were doing the NCAA tournament in basketball, even though they send teams from all over the place. But as far as like the actual regions and the sub-regions within the March Madness tournament, it all funnels the same direction. And I try to do that when I do my bracketology. So that's what I did here.
Awesome. I mean, that to me, it's very impressive. I do not have the second and third effects thought mentality to put something like that together. So off a whim, I mean, I'm sure you had some preconceived notions or some thoughts of what this bracket may look like, especially because you probably thought Jamie was going to beat Richmond. Shout out to Chris. But to throw that at you, Jason, and for you to just pull that bracket off for us here willy-nilly is super impressive. Gentlemen, that is overall not too shabby. I would say this, our bracket is gross, but Jason's bracketology is awesome. Would we all agree to that? I think that.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. He brought some common sense to what besides was some spring chaos. So, Jason, we really appreciate you on here, man. Give yourself a shameless plug, Jason. Where can people find your bracketology? Where can they find your articles? Where can they find you if they're interested in following you across the internet, my man?
Most of my stuff is all up on College Sports Madness. They took me on a couple of years ago, and I just sort of jumped in and took over the whole FCS thing. So all my stuff is usually there. I do tend to ruffle some feathers on the FCS Fans Nation, but I really don't care. I know I'm 100% asshole, and I don't make any excuses for it. So
Jason Groomes, our bear for bracketology and our bear on FCS Fans Nation. Well, we really appreciate having you tonight, Jason. We thank you for putting in some hard work while we threw a hypothetical at you. Jamie, Kylor, Chris, Jason, I hope you guys enjoyed this little event. It was a lot of fun to debate, throw some things out there, and hopefully nobody hears this, takes us too serious, and gets real angry on the Twitter. Realize we did this for fun, and we anticipate the real bracket obviously being a little bit different. The biggest takeaway from this whole thing is to realize kind of how bracketology should look, how you should think about it, and how Jason Groomes is one of the best out there. Go to College Sports Madness, wherever you can find it online, and make sure that you are following Jason's stuff. He posts FCS Fans Nation as well, which is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Gentlemen, this will complete our pod. We didn't even have any time for our members' questions, which is unusual for us, but that's okay. We will be signing off and getting ready for the final week, which will determine who is in that 16-team FCS playoff field. See you on Selection Sunday, boys. Boom.
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 This is one of the ugliest maps I've ever put together. Some of the longest, curviest lines I've had to this is ridiculous.